Hey folks, Rodney back again. Hey, I'm going to do another quick kind of a walk around video about my 2022 Toyota Tundra. Many of you may not have already seen my previous videos, so if you haven't, going to kind of walk around the vehicle, kind of tell you what equipment to expect when you are looking at different models, and kind of tell you some of my kind of a long-term ownership experience, I should say. So let's just take a quick walk around here. Many people have been asking me to do a review of my tonneau cover, so I'm going to mention that real briefly. This is a tri-folding tonneau cover. The company is called Rough Country, and it is a low profile, so it's obviously, you know, you don't see it's not obtrusive by any means. The one thing that I will mention about this, and I'm going to open it up so you can see it here in a second, but right here in the back, you know, they say that they're I should say water resistant. Well, they're not 100%, no. And you can see a gap right back here. So that's the only one downfall that I have about these. The one thing that I will say is they're a lot more secure than a lot of the others. Some of the others I've seen that you can kind of slip in underneath, and if you had a tool you could kind of pop the latch, which would be able to get into it, but there's no way to get anything down in there on this one, so it's very secure in that respect. As I mentioned, it is tri-folding, so they do fold up. And then obviously when you get to the third section, it just kind of, you have a strap here that latches in up top there, or in the front rather. No, I've been very happy. This is the second one of the Rough Country that I've had. It was $699. I've ordered them on Amazon. This one I actually went straight to the company and got it. And it's very quick shipping. I think from the time I ordered it to the time I received it was probably about a week. So, you know, it's quick. It takes probably 30 to 45 minutes depending on how mechanical you are to install it, but I've been very happy with that. Obviously I ride dirt bikes, and so I want to secure my tools and my valuables when I'm out riding, and that makes a perfect way to do that. So now let's go ahead and talk about the vehicle real quick. 2022 Toyota Tundra Crewmax. It is a limited model, and it does have the TRD off-road package. This one does have the upgraded LED headlamps. It's also got the LED fog lights. So this one also has the terrain monitor, and it's called many different things. Some people call it a panorama view monitor, just depending on which model you get. So with that, you're going to have 6 cameras. So you've got your camera up front, you got one underneath the side view mirrors. You have 2 on the back of the cab right there, and then you also have your backup camera here. I should say right here. This is actually a light, so like when you're connecting to things and when you're backing them up, you can see kind of what's right down there where the tongue would be. The 2 that you have up top, one shines down in the bed, the second one shines back towards, like if you had a trailer back there, and that's going to be for your digital rear view mirror. That second one is. Does have the blind spot monitoring and the rear cross traffic alert. Does have the power folding mirrors, and like I said, this is a limited model, so different models are going to have different trim. This is going to be standard for the limited model. The 1794 edition and the Platinum edition are going to come standard features with these as well. Some of these are upgrades to the limited, and I'll try to point out what I can when I can. But anyway, power folding mirrors, memory seating. This one has the LED bed lights, and then of course you have the dome light on the back of the cab, but that's going to be for your cab lights. This is for your auto dimming headlamps. So if anybody's not already familiar with that feature, when you're out on a backcountry road, not really designed to be used on the highway, but on a backcountry road, that camera can see headlights off in the distance about 200 yards away, and it will automatically dim your high beams as long as you have them turned on, dim your high beams down to the low beams until that car passes you, and then flip them back on bright again. This is the automatic stop start feature. I know a lot of people don't like that feature. I think that when they designed it, I think they designed it for probably people for California emissions, cut down on the emissions when you're in stop and go traffic. But they do say that if you use the feature when you're stopping and run around town, that it will save you about 1 mile per gallon in fuel economy. The one thing I have noticed with this, and I obviously for many of you that don't already know, I am a salesperson for Toyota, And so we have other vehicles that have that same feature, but this one you actually have to push a lot harder on the brake pedal to get it to engage. You do have your when you're backing up, picks up objects there, and so it prevents you from running into anything. I will say this, if you ever put a bike rack on the back of the truck, I run into the same situation. I put a bike rack on the truck, didn't what am I trying to say? It didn't change anything as far as the way the vehicle drives. But when you go to back up, it's an emergency lock that will not prevent it from moving. So with this feature on, if you put a bike rack on the back, it detects that object back there, so it thinks that you're about to hit something and will stop the vehicle. So anyway, you want to take that off when you're put a bike rack, or you know, something small like that that looks like an object to it. This one does have the heated steering wheel, of course your power inverter for the 110 plug-in that's in the back there. Inside the vehicle, let's close the door here. So inside the vehicle, you do have the assist for backing up a trailer. Honestly, I've never used it. I guess if somebody wasn't already, wasn't already used to backing up a trailer, then it might be something beneficial. Basically, when you set it up, you drive around and make some turns and whatnot, and it figures the length of the trailer. And then when you engage that, it's supposed to back up the trailer and the truck itself into a straight line without you having to touch the steering wheel. So I guess it could have served its purpose, maybe at the boat ramp, or you're trying to back down a narrow drive or something. It could definitely help, but I've never used it personally. This is for your panorama view, as I talked about, or terrain monitor, depending on which model you have. And so I'll show you here in a few minutes. The problem that I'm going to run into, and I see it on many videos, is that unless the frequency rate is exactly the same on the camera as it was on the LED screen here, it's going to have some squiggly lines on it. It's going to be a little, I would say, a little irritating to watch. So I won't leave it on for too long, but I did want to show you how things operate. Obviously, you got with a TRD off-road, you do have the locking rear axle. You got tow haul mode. So when you're towing, what I've noticed with this, there's a tow haul 1 and a tow haul plus, I think it is. But anyway, I use tow haul 1 most of the time. Tow haul 1 is to be used for like 5,000 pounds or less. If you're using it to tow more than that, you want to do in the tow haul plus. The biggest benefit I've seen, obviously it kind of changes your throttle response. And then the other thing too is that it holds your RPMs a little bit longer before it allows it to shift. So the tow haul plus does the same thing, but it's going to hold it a little bit longer. The other thing too is that when you're coming down a mountain, so let's say you're coming down a mountain pass, and it uses the engine's compression to help slow the vehicle down. So tow haul 1 and tow haul plus, they are different. Tow haul plus, you won't have to apply brakes quite as much, and will help slow the vehicle down, and that part actually works really well. Every time I get in the vehicle and I'm flip the camera around, every time I get in the vehicle and I'm towing with it, I'm always amazed. Number one, I came from a Tacoma to a Tundra, so yeah, that's goes without saying. But it seems like there's always a lot more power than what I expected. And when I hook a trailer to it, a lot of times, on most vehicles, you can really feel that weight back there. With the Tundra, and granted, I'm not towing a lot of weight, I'm towing 3,500 pounds. The biggest thing, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but I do have a 14-foot cargo trailer, and that cargo trailer has a big wind block on the front. And so that is the biggest restriction. Like I said, it's not a lot of weight, 3,500 pounds, but it's amazing how, you went up a steep grade, say 6% grade, and you want to pass somebody and it just picks up speed like nothing, and you just fly right around them. So there again, I'm always amazed about that. The one thing I'm a little disappointed about is the fuel economy when towing. So I get about 12 miles per gallon, not based on the weights, based on the wind drag that I have for the trailer. So yeah, it's I wish that part could be better, but what are you gonna do? All right, you do have heated and cooled seats. In fact, I'm gonna start the vehicle. The one thing that I've noted is that the truck is extremely quiet. And you'll notice here in just a moment, if you walk up to the vehicle from the outside, sometimes it's hard to tell if it's even running because it's so quiet. But you got heated, you've got cooled seats, got your automatic climate control, so you can separate the temperature on both sides. You do have heated mirrors. They are tied in with the rear window defroster. Probably one of the coolest features about the Tundra, or at least the Crewmax, is that you can roll down that back window and goes all the way down into the truck. So that is a cool feature. Another feature I really like, and I know not all the trucks are coming with them, is a panoramic sunroof. It lets a lot of light inside the vehicle. It makes it seem so much larger than what it actually is, and I love that thing. I don't run with the sunroof open a lot, but I do love having that shade open just to let that light in. So back here, you do have a place to plug in USB port. Now I will say that this has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The Apple CarPlay and Android Auto will work without having it plugged in. All other Toyota vehicles, I think with the exception of the Supra, you actually have to physically have it tethered to your phone in order to get that to operate. So cool feature. The one thing to keep in mind though is if you have the built-in navigation system, I personally prefer the navigation system that's built in versus using Apple CarPlay. You have to make a decision. You either use the Apple CarPlay or you use the system that's already set up. Everything's right here at your fingertips anyway, so if I wanted to, you know, call somebody, I can pull up my contacts. Oops. Didn't mean to make that call. But anyway, everything's right there at your fingertips. You know, you go into settings. One thing that a lot of people miss, and this is probably more of a salesperson's fault that we're not setting it up properly, you have to link your key fob. If you don't link your key fob, you're going to get in the vehicle and it's going to come up and it's going to say guest. So make sure that you do link your key fob and follow the steps when you set the vehicle up in the very beginning. I know a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is they jump in the vehicle, they pair up their phone, and then you start getting all these pop-ups because you haven't done it in the right order. So, you know, take your time, do it right. If you do it right, it probably takes less than 10 minutes to get everything set up. But if you don't, you have to disconnect everything and try to figure out what the workaround is to try to get everything connected. And it seems like it goes so much faster if you just do it, you know, in that original order, rather than having to kind of backtrack and figure out, okay, how do we unpair this? How do we get this set up? And like I said, it just takes a lot longer than normal. I'm gonna flip the camera around here. As you can see, I have 5,380 miles on the vehicle, running around town. This is my average, 17.4. A lot of that has to do with how hard you get onto the gas. Now, I've mentioned to a lot of people that when you take off from a dead stop, if you'll accelerate fairly quickly, and what I mean by that is if you get up to 35, 40 miles per hour and then just let off of the throttle just a slight hair, what you'll see is that fuel economy wants to hover right around 25 to 30 miles per gallon. And so when you do it that way, I've noticed that that's how I'm getting the best fuel economy in town. Also, when you take off at a stoplight or if you're jumping onto the freeway, as long as you leave your foot in that accelerator, it's trying to obviously force more air in there from the turbos, but it also has to throw more gas in there too to get that right fuel to air mixture. And so, yes, you get to the same area in the same length of time. You might get there a little quicker if you're hard on the gas, but the sooner that you can get up to speed and then kind of back off a little bit, you'll start seeing that better fuel economy right away. I like the big buttons here, or the big dial. Makes it easier, you know, adjusting the volume. On the steering wheel, you got volume controls here, you got your voice command, these arrows left and right, and then of course the OK button up and down operates that center screen. Tire pressure monitoring. So this is when you can go in there and set up a trailer, and you can set up I think, multiple trailers. I don't remember how many you can actually set up, maybe 3, I don't remember. But once you get them set up, obviously then at that point all you do is you just plug in your trailer, designate which trailer you have hooked up, and then it does everything for you. And so it makes it a lot simpler. The one thing I will mention is that a lot of times you can just go in there and hook up the trailer. If you don't have the gain, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. If you don't have the gain adjusted, so like for instance, well, you can designate what type of trailer you're pulling, but unless that gain is hooked up, it's not going to activate the trailer brake. So you want to make sure and double check that, just to make sure it's working properly. And then every time you step on the brake, when the trailer's hooked up, you'll see the output gauge will move as well. That helps you do that. And then of course you can set up blind spot monitoring based on the length of the trailer too, so that will help. If you're doing off-roading, this is your pitch and roll. And back to tire pressure. Here is your safety features. So obviously, if you know, most people already know about the safety features, but you're going to have lane departure, you have adaptive cruise control, you have pre-collision system, you got the blind spot monitoring here. This particular model has the parking sensors, both front and rear, and then that's part of your rear cross traffic alert as well. One thing I will note or mention is that, you know, you've got your lane departure button right here. So you've got steering assist, but if I hit the lane departure button again, then you've got lane steering assist with lane centering, so you can turn that feature on or off. And then if you're driving and you don't want that feature to be on at all, you push and hold it, and then you'll see that it shuts that off completely. So go back to that. I'm holding it, and then it just completely turned it off. And the same thing with the adaptive cruise control. I know a lot of people like to set a cruise and don't want to use that feature. There again, it automatically comes on in the beginning, but you can turn it off just by pushing and holding it, and then it will automatically shut that feature off. So anyway, if I push the OK button, it opens up an internal menu, and then when that menu's on, so you can do things like you can turn on the lane centering if you want to. If I drop down, go to alert, that's for the lane departure. So you can set it up whether it either vibrates on the phone, or excuse me, on the steering wheel, or you can get the audible alert, so you'll hear it beep. I prefer the steering wheel myself, and a lot of times, you know, unless I'm out on the highway, I typically don't use lane departure, but it is a cool feature, you know, for that. So take it for what it's worth there. Sensitivity level, that will help determine how hard it pulls back into the lane. And then sway warning kind of monitors how you're doing in your lane, and if it looks like you're getting sleepy, a picture of a coffee cup's going to come up, let you know that, hey, take a break, get some coffee. PCS is your pre-collision system. That's the one that can take over and stop the vehicle. For instance, if you're driving through town and you didn't notice somebody stopped in front of you in time, it can take over and stop the vehicle to prevent a rear-end collision there. All right, so that's kind of it for the safety features there. You do have a automatic parking brake, so as soon as you put the vehicle in park, it's automatically going to set the brake. As soon as you pull it out of park, it's automatically going to release it. You do have a brake hold feature. Some people call it hill start assist. So let's say hypothetically you're parked at a stop sign or a stoplight and it's on a bit of an incline. Instead of having to sit there and hold your foot on the brake, you can go on ahead and engage that. When you're ready to take off, all you do is step on the gas and it automatically releases. So up here on the rear view mirror, you do have your home link, which is underneath, where you can program in a garage door opener or an electric gate. You do have the digital rear view mirror, and I know that's not it's not standard on every vehicle, so you know, make sure that read the V-spec, which is your detailed list of equipment on the vehicle when you're looking at getting one, and make sure that you know what features it actually has. And then over here you have this is for your digital rear view mirror as well, where you can actually change the angle, and then you can change the brightness so you can see there. I personally don't use a digital rear view mirror, and the reason why is, I don't know if you can see out the back there, but you know, things are a lot closer than what they look like on a digital rear view mirror. So I guess it has its purpose. Let's say, for instance, you have cargo back there and you can't see because your view is being blocked, then you can flip on a digital rear view mirror, and that camera sits up higher and hopefully won't be blocking your view. Excuse me. It does have an SOS button, and the SOS button works off a satellite. So many people may be familiar with OnStar on GM products, but kind of works in the same premise. If you get into an accident and triggers airbags to deploy, it's going to send a signal to Toyota, which in return they'll try to contact you through the vehicle system. If you don't respond back within a certain period of time, they're going to send an ambulance to your location. Well, you can also use this for roadside assistance. So if you're stuck somewhere, you're out of gas, you have a flat tire, and you don't want to have to mess with changing it, you can hit that button. They're going to come on and ask you if it's either you know, emergency or non-emergency, and just tell them it's non-emergency and explain the situation. The nice thing about this, because it works off a satellite, is that, you know, you may have a situation where you're out of gas and you have no phone reception, you can't call anybody. You could still hit that, and then obviously they can see your location and then send somebody to you. So I think that's kind of a lot of it. I am going to mention this, and this is a bit of a frustration. I'm going to take my phone out so you can see what I'm talking about. So part of it could be, turn this light off, part of it could be the case. So you see that it's charging right now, but what I have noticed is that after a minute or two it always stops charging. And there again, it could be the case. I always thought that maybe it was just something that's kind of moved or vibrated and it moved it, but that doesn't seem to make a difference. Everywhere I move it, when it's amber it's charging, when it's green it's not. And so what I'll find is, you know, it'll charge for a minute or so and then it kicks it off the charging system. So I wish that they would do something to make that a little bit better. The funny thing is that I have Bluetooth wireless charging on my, you know, on my desktop, or I should say on my dresser. And so and you can see here it's stopped charging. But when I leave it on the thing there, it charges through the case with no problem. So I think that it has something to do with Toyota's system. It's just not as functional as what I've seen some of the others. So I wish they would improve that. I will mention too, I recently got a notification on my cell phone, and that's one of the things with the Remote Connect. And so for anybody not familiar with Remote Connect, that's Toyota's way of kind of keeping in contact with the customer, and so they can kind of monitor how your vehicle is operating. So a couple things you're going to get Safety Connect, which I've already mentioned, the SOS button up here. But in this situation, you know, that's kind of Toyota's way to keep in contact with you. If you need help, they can help. Service Connect, if you have something going on with the vehicle where normally you would have a light, let me turn this off. Normally you'd have a light come up on the dash. Toyota can see what's going on with the vehicle too, and in some cases that can help get you in and get the vehicle fixed quicker, because it notifies your local service department in that situation and lets them know what's going on with the vehicle. But as I mentioned, I got a recall. So the recall right now, excuse me, the recall has to do with the safety features. So it's backup camera, and then also the panoramic monitor, or excuse me, panoramic view, or the terrain monitor. And so what happens is, on some of the vehicles, I don't have the issue, on some of the vehicles the backup camera is still working, but your side view, and I'm going to start this again so you can see. I'm going to turn the camera around here, wait for the screen to clear. So if I put the vehicle in reverse, you got your backup view here, you've also got your side view, and now that's coming from the cameras on the side, underneath the side view mirrors. And then obviously it looks like a 360-degree view, so it's using the front camera, back camera, and then of course the two on the side. But they're saying in the recall that this camera is not operating, and like I said, I'm not having that issue. I'm not having that issue on mine. So and then I checked on the recall, because I do work at a Toyota dealership. I had mine in for the first 5,000 mile service, And they said at this time, there's not a remedy for it. So like I said, I'm not having the issue anyway. But as soon as they do figure out a remedy for it, they'll probably be a software update of some sort. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the view. Plenty of leg room back there with the Crewmax. There is storage underneath the bottom seats, and then you have a little storage behind the seats as well. And obviously your jack and your handles back behind the back passenger seat. If you guys have any questions, anything I can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am going to touch real quickly. I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, I ordered a vehicle through this dealership, and they said it's going to be 6 to 9 months, and I'll get my vehicle. Folks, I would think twice about doing it that way, and let me explain. So a dealership can preference a vehicle for you. When they say preference, they mean they go into the system, they put in what you're looking for. In order for that vehicle to get built, they have to get an allocation from Toyota that matches the description of what you're looking for. Unless you're going to have an allocation that next time around, that vehicle is not going to get built. And so when these dealerships are telling you 6 to 9 months, they're basically looking for a hope and a prayer that maybe they'll get an allocation that meets the description of what you're looking for. If they don't, then that preference just sits there. Well, what we've had issues with in the past is that preference might sit there for 4 months, and then Toyota comes back, excuse me, and says, sorry, we're not going to build a vehicle. And so your 6 to 9 months could turn into indefinitely. Now, there's another thing that they can do. They can see an allocation that they already have coming in, and they can request what's called a boss change. A boss change is for port installed options. So let's say, for instance, if a vehicle is coming and it doesn't have running boards, they can request to have a boss change done on it to have the running boards added. Here's the problem. Right now, they're having, and it's not just Toyota, it's all the manufacturers are having such a shortage of materials, supplies. With the Tundra being new, obviously all the supplies that they're getting, they're sending to the manufacturer so they can install them on vehicles to keep building vehicles. So in the last 3 months, I've had probably 5 or 6 different customers that I've tried to do a boss change on to get things added to the vehicle. Not a single one has happened. So it has nothing to do with the dealership. It has everything to do with Toyota just doesn't have the supplies to add additional features on the vehicle. And that's why when they're planning the vehicles out, a lot of Toyota dealerships, they just send them whatever they want. So for instance, if we get a Tundra, and I'll give you an example here in a moment, but if we order a Tundra, it may or may not have the panoramic view sunroof. And I've seen a lot of them don't have. We don't have any control of that. Toyota's just going to send us whatever they want to. Your best bet in order to get a vehicle in a quick fashion is find a dealership that has an incoming allocation. If you're a little bit flexible and, excuse me, not wanting to hold out until you get exactly what you want, you'll get a vehicle a lot quicker, I promise you. But there again, if you want to hold out and you want to get that panoramic, you want to get that sunroof, it is a very cool feature, and trust me 100%, I understand why. But there again, like I said, don't get tricked into dealerships telling you they're going to order you a vehicle and then never be able to produce it. So if I can help with anything, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Send a like, send a comment. If you haven't already subscribed, go on ahead and subscribe. I'll continue to do kind of ongoing videos of my own ownership experience and tell you both good and bad. I'm subjective. I'm not trying to sell you anything. And I've had many customers actually contact me. They see my name. They know that I work for a Toyota dealership, and so they find me through the dealership. Biggest reason I'm not trying to sell anybody is, number one, we're having a hard time getting vehicles. So I don't want to have somebody see one of my videos and then contact me and, feel like I'm promising or I'm going to get them a vehicle quicker than what they can get anywhere else. We're all stuck in the same boat, unfortunately. And so we all have to kind of play by the same rules. So if I can help answer any questions, I'd be more than happy to do so. I try to get back to everybody as quickly as I possibly can. For the people who just want to just hate on videos, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. I'm just trying to help provide information and help people make logical decisions. So thanks again for taking the time to watch it. And like I said, let me know if I can help with anything. Have a great day.